All right, let's go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Don Cherry's Grapevine podcast. And this week, we're going to run a 1986 interview with Walter Gretzky, famous dad of Wayne Gretzky. This interview was a lot of fun. Phyllis, Wayne's mom, was in the audience. I think we should have got her up to do the interview. I think that even would have been more interesting. But it's a great interview for all you hockey dads out there. And a quick funny story Dad always tells. Walter Gretzky really was the salt of the earth. I mean, he was such a nice guy, so low-key. And oftentimes when you'd go to minor league games in Brantford, he would be out selling 50-50 tickets or magazines for the kids. And he even when Wayne was a superstar, he was still out supporting minor hockey in his area. So one day he asked Dad to go out, and it actually was a little lacrosse game up in Brantford. So Dad went up, and as they were walking out of the arena, Dad and Walter were talking, and a kid came up and said, Mr. Cherry, says, I got a question to ask. Who's the greatest hockey player of all time, Bobby Orr or Wayne Gretzky? So now Dad's kind of stuck because Walter's got a smirk on his face, and he's looking at him. And Dad thinks for a minute, and he goes, well, I'll tell you this. Wayne Gretzky's the best hockey player playing in the NHL today. And Walter laughed. And as he walked away, he said to Grapes, you know, Grapes, he says, you'd make a good politician. So here we are with a really interesting interview of the ultimate hockey dad, Walter Gretzky.
And now, I'd like to welcome to the Grapevine, Phyllis Gretzky, right there, Wayne's mother. I'll tell you one thing. I read the book, and you talk about a dedicated guy. This is unbelievable. Phyllis was having the babies, and he was out at a hockey tournament all the time. It was unbelievable. Hour after hour on the ice, mile after mile in the Blue Goose. We'll talk about the Blue Goose, as the station wagon. I'll tell you, this guy, he gave us health for hockey, and that's why we would not know Wayne Gretzky as he is today without Big Wally. We got a Blue movie now, Blue. Roll it right now, the Blue movie on Walter Gretzky.
Walter Gretzky has to be considered one of the most famous fathers in Canadian sport, and the Gretzky offspring have made a definite impact, whether it be in baseball or more specifically in hockey. Wayne's accomplishments have been documented, but up and coming is son Keith, a sniper with the Ontario Hockey League's Windsor Spitfires. Under the guidance of his father, Keith is a year or two away from making the Buffalo Sabres. In all, Walter and wife Phyllis had 4 boys and 1 girl, and hoping to go the same route as brothers Wayne and Keith is much younger Brent, an up-and-comer in the Brantford minor hockey system. Winters have traditionally been the busiest for the Gretzky clan. As the cold weather and snow set in, a hockey rink was always under construction in their Brantford backyard. It's obviously paid off. Son Wayne has dominated NHL play, and Hart trophies as the league's most valuable player are a direct result of practice on the backyard rink. The Gretzkys are a famous Canadian family, and why not? Wayne's accomplishments as an NHL big leaguer have placed hometown Brantford on the map. Gretzky's success can be attributed to natural-born talent, but equally so to the time spent with his father during those formative years back in Brantford. Both Walter and wife Phyllis have long been early risers during the winter months. 5 o'clock trips to frigid hockey rinks are just too numerous to remember. But the dividends have paid off, and the rapid progress son Wayne has made over the years is testament to the wisdom passed on to him by his father Walter. Recent projects for the Gretzkys have included a book. Walter and well-known Vancouver writer Jim Taylor have combined talents to put the famed Gretzky story in print. It certainly is a long way from Brantford, Ontario to the bright lights of the National Hockey League, but times have indeed changed for Mr. and Mrs. Gretzky. All that remains the same are their personalities, friendly, warm, and down to earth. Responsible for a superstar player, there is no denying a superstar father in Walter Gretzky.
Not bad, hey, Brian boy? Don't you go away. We'll be right back with Big Wally, as the kids call him. Don't you go away. Most important question I'm going to ask you tonight And it is very important for all the women out there, for my wife. Now, is Wayne going to go back on the Young and Restless or what?
Well, let me put it this way, Grapes. I don't think he's going to break any records there.
I don't think Robert Redford has to worry, right? No. Yeah, you know, I often wonder, a lot of people see it out here and everything, how did the Gretzky family get here to Canada? I think it's very interesting. It's in the book here.
Well, my dad came over from Russia before the first war, and he was in the United States, and of course war broke out at the time, and he was going to join the army, and everybody told him, if you want to join an army, the army to join, naturally is the Canadian Army, it's the best army, and he never ever went back to the States. After that, he stayed here.
And now, did you play hockey? Now, tell us about your hockey career. A lot of people say, geez, Wayne Gretzky, this guy must have been a heck of a hockey player, but go ahead.
Well, it wasn't the first time that I heard you're too small. When it was
Keith's
said
here
about
now,
Wayne.
by the way.
Right, so he's the third one. But at any rate, I was playing junior B hockey, and everybody just told me I was too small. And of course, Wayne is playing now, and we heard that for years and years.
Whaley gets the National Hockey League.
Right.
WHA, Whaley gets there, junior hockey. Now, you worked in Brantford. What did you work at?
Well, I'm still with Bell Canada. I've been there for 29 years. I'm a craftsman there.
Oh, good show. Now, I mentioned at the opening, now you've got it, Phyllis is out there, and she'll back you up. Now, I read in the book, boy, it's a great book, I'm telling you. You were away on a tournament when most of the tournaments, when the babies were born. Now, how come? I mean, hockey's important, but...
Well, I was there for the first one, because I took her to the hospital.
I was waiting, eh? That's the main one, eh? I like the one story where you went up and you said, Phyllis says, well, we had a boy. She says, yeah, we won. You said we won the tournament, too. But, you know, again, I go back to the book. Like I say, it's a terrific book. And I'm not shilling for the book because it is. The big thing that came out time and time again, even when Wayne was getting billions and billions of dollars, two things, well, maybe not billions, but anyhow, the farm and the backyard, that seemed to come out all the way through, even near the end.
Well, I think a lot of people have a misconception about that. It's as you know yourself, you can't take a boy and say, well, I'm going to make a hockey player out of him, or a ball player out of him, or whatever. I just enjoyed the time with them, and there was something that I liked to do, and they all got to like to play sports. Hockey isn't the only sport that they play. They're involved in track and field and ball and hockey, and I think most kids, or all kids, should be, if at all possible, involved in sports, because it teaches them that you know, one day they're going to have to look after themselves, and that's where they learn, is through sports.
Why did you put the rink in the backyard?
Self-preservation.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, first time I took, one of the few first times I took Wayne to the park outdoor rink, it had to have been about 15 below that night. And I said, come on, Wayne, let's go. No, just a few more minutes, everybody's gone, the lights are still on. I'm sitting in the car and I'm frozen, the car's running, I'm still frozen. I came home and I said, well, Phyllis, I said, that's it. From now on, I'm putting a rink in the backyard.
All the neighborhood used to come there, eh?
Yes, they
all
did.
the
They
time,
still
yeah.
do.
And it's still there?
Yeah, I have it every year.
Coming in saying, can I go to the bathroom, fellas, and all stuff like that. Oh, tell us about the rest of your family now.
Well, most people don't know that we have a daughter who's 22. She's her name's Kim.
She's a great track star.
Yes, she was. When she was 15, she happened to be walking down the street after a sleet storm, and she went over on her ankle, and she had an operation for that to try and correct it, but it never did correct properly, and that was the end of her track.
Glenn, he had a problem too when he was small, didn't he?
Yeah, but the Sick Children's Hospital, of course, you know the marvels that they perform there, and his feet are pretty good now. He walks like everybody else, so there's no problem.
Oh, that's super. I know Keith, he's with Windsor now. It's funny, Scotty Bowman, a lot of people, Scotty Bowman, we were at the Hockey Hall of Fame. Scotty comes up to me, doesn't say anything. He said, the kid's going to make it. The kid's going to make it. Got that anticipation, and who he was talking about was Keith, but again, they say he's too small.
Well, I've heard that many times, and of course, as I've already said, Wayne's heard it, Keith has always heard it, but you just get used to it. And I don't think the size really means that much if you're a finesse type of a player, because every team has to have a few of those types.
Right.
And of course, you have to have the big fellows too. You can't be without them.
Well, you know what Blue says? Blue says, not the size of the dog in the fight, size the fight in the dog. Blue's, you know, she's just a little one too. Now, Brent, you see a lot of Wayne and Brent coming along, though, don't you?
Very much so. He has the same style as the other boys do, and of course the same style as what Wayne does. But he looks more like Wayne, height and you know, his stature.
Well, you said Keith was built like Phyllis or something. Remember at the Hockey Hall of Fame? Should I have said that? No. Now, a lot of people say that, but a lot of people, you know, everybody sees Wayne, you know, accepting trophies, and they see you at the Stanley Cup Finals and everything, and they say, oh boy, that Gretzky family, everything's been rosy all along. And if you read the book, things in Brantford were not quite as rosy as everybody. You had some tough times with Wayne in the early of his career.
Well, it was difficult. It's human nature. If you have a boy of your own, I have a boy of mine, they play year after year together, and say yours does well year after year, and possibly mine's not doing quite as good, and I'm really hoping that he will. You kind of lose the objective of it all, and you tend to have a dislike, like I would have a dislike towards your own boy, and the unfortunate part about it is I would be the one who's missing out on
Right.
my own, because like he's healthy, participating, and at least trying.
Yeah.
So
You-
and I've been on both sides of the fence, so I know what I'm
what's going
talking
on.
about.
A reporter was saying the one thing that I remember, that he said that he walked in the dressing room and after a game Wayne was crying. So, you know, he never quit. He was crying. It was tough on him, and he never quit. And one thing I like about mothers and that, and in the book again, it's in the book, I keep saying it's not like a Bible, but again, you could forgive these people, but Wayne said Phyllis never, ever forgave them.
Well, I guess I'm the diplomat in the family.
Wayne said he was walking around, and if you know, they come by somebody like that, and Phyllis would tighten up, just know he said somewhere along the line. Now, give us when Wayne was young and the kids were young, give us a typical Gretzky night, Saturday night, late, about 8 o'clock, 8:30.
Well, we would be out at the farm, and my mother would be cheering for the Leafs, and Wayne would be cheering for Detroit and the Red Wings.
Gordie Howe had a lot of
course, yeah.
influence on him,
Yeah,
didn't he?
yeah.
I remember him telling me. Now, I'm very interested if you remember who his first goaltender was. He shot on. Remember that? Grandma?
Oh, yeah. In the living room, of course.
Did she make any saves?
The odd one when he missed.
Yeah, you know, it's a funny thing. People say, you know, you put Gretzky out there for 4 hours and that, and you know, he skated and everything like that. That wasn't practice to him. That was fun. He would have stayed 10 hours, right?
Well, he's often said that if he was told at the time it was work to him and he had to do it, as he has said so many times, he wouldn't have done it.
Now, I know you don't like to say this, and it sounds like you're bragging, but at what age did you see that he had the special gift?
Well, I always answer that two ways. As far as a minor hockey player, you could tell when he was 4 and 5 years old that, you know, he just had that little gift that you're talking about, and that he was going to be exceptional in minor hockey. But as you know yourself better than I do, that you don't know whether someone's going to be a professional player until they're 16, 17 years old, because so many things change.
It's really funny as you go around the banquets and you talk to people and they say, that Walter Gretzky and Phyllis just must have those special genes or something, or he's awful pussy. What do you say to that when somebody comes up and says that to you?
Just laugh like I did there.
There was one thing you shocked me again when I read this, is that you taught him anticipation. Over the years and years, the last 50 years, it's all you either have it or you don't have it. And you said that can be taught.
Well, I really believe it can be taught. I'm not saying that I taught him, I'm not saying that, but I know if you're a small player, you have to be able to do something that a big player can't do. And the one thing that everybody can do is think. So I just tried to get Wayne and the rest of the kids, and they all have that anticipation, is to just outthink the other player, because they have to take 2 strides to someone else's 1 stride, you know, and so they have to do something different. And to me, it's so simple. I'll use just one example. If you stand at a blue line and fire the puck around the boards, I always showed them that a lot of kids will follow the puck all the way into the corner, around the net to the far corner. Well, if you just show them the second way, just fire around the boards and go to where it's going to be, not where it's been.
Geez, no wonder I spent all those years in the minors. I was chasing the puck all the time. But you know, another thing too, it really got me too, and I really like this. You talk about, you know, getting in there and don't care what, that's the way I am, is that you got them white gloves. Tell us of how you got the white gloves.
Well, that wasn't intentional.
No.
It was one of those practices that, I think it was the first practice of the year, and Wayne didn't have any gloves, and I worked late that night, and we went over to the sports store, and Jerry was a good friend of ours, and I said, Jerry, I need a pair of gloves as fast as you can. I said, I only got 20 minutes to get him dressed, get him to the rink, get him on the ice. He said, I got just a pair for you. And he reached up, and I said, just put them right back, Jerry. I don't want no part of that. He said, no, he's got to try them on. He's got to try them on. Wayne says, yeah, they look nice, look nice. And so he put them on. He goes like this. He says, look how flexible they are. Look, because I always liked flexible equipment, especially for young kids. Yeah. And we took the gloves, and that's where that white glove started.
Now, everybody asked about the tucking the sweater in. Now, where did that get started? Did you teach them that or what?
No, well, again, it's something that he had to do because he was 6 years old playing with 10-year-olds, and he couldn't find a sweater small enough for him, and it hung down to his ankles, not just his knees. So I told him to just tuck it in the corner, and he did ever since he started playing.
You know, in the summer, I talked to Daryl Sittler, I talked to Dale Hunter, Howard Chuck, and they all said the same thing. In the summer, Wayne used to shoot pucks and work hard too.
All the time.
It's funny, the three guys, the same thing. They didn't go off and, you know, and party and things like that. We've got, I think I've got about 30 more questions for you, and we've only got 30 seconds. This is unbelievable. It's the first time in my life I've had more questions than you've got to come back again next year, okay?
It'd be a pleasure.
Okay, we're going over the bar. Don't you go big. Big Wally's coming back. Yes, sir. Jimmy Loftus, here you are here. Big Wally.
Great question. I'm just wondering, like people now, parents today that have sons that feel they have the potential for hockey, what advice would you give them?
Give them all the opportunity in the world to do what they want to do. Just be there to open a door for them and be with them.
That's super. I like that. Now tell me about the Blue Goose. Tell us about the Blue Goose. Maybe that's why Wayne's going to be in the Hall of Fame on account of the Blue Goose.
Well, of course, as everybody who has a boy who plays in minor sports knows, that put on a lot of miles. This particular car, we'd gone 200,000. It was over 200,000. I came home one day and I said to Phyllis, "Where's the car?" And she says, "I got rid of it." I said, "What do you mean you got rid of it?" She says, "Here's your $25. The Wreckers came and took it away today."
Yeah, but Wayne gave you a pretty good caddy too coming up, didn't he? Now I know you got a satellite and you watch Wayne all the time. What do you see? I remember in the playoffs you were saying you saw a few things that helped him out. He was struggling for a while there.
Well, of course, when he was turning sharp, he was his feet were sliding out on him. What was happening? His boot was touching the ice and just sliding right out, and so he went back to his old skates.
And remember, he was losing the puck or something.
Well, of course, that was the length of the stick again. It was just sliding off the end of the stick, and of course we discussed it. Wayne said, "Yeah, I realize I got a problem with that. I'll correct that," which he did by changing the size of the stick.
Well, you know, I talked to Mike and Gus, and you know who we're talking about, and he's got a million advisors out there. I know that. Everybody wants to advise people that are successful like myself, too. But I know one thing, and they say, if you want to get a decision, you better talk to Walter. Now, I think that's terrific. Tell us about that. I know you're embarrassed me saying that, but it is true, isn't it?
Well, he'll always call if it's something major, and he'll discuss it with myself and with his mother before he goes ahead and does it.
Well, I'll tell you, I remember the one time you gave him advice, you saw a contract, and you never went far in school like me. You looked at the contract. Remember one with the boot and the skate? Tell us about that one. That was a beauty. So all those guys, high-powered guys, should have picked that up.
Well, the contract itself talked about the boot that he was going to wear, and it never mentioned anything about the blade that was going to be on the boot. And of course, he already had a contract with Perfecta for the blade. That's the blade he was wearing, and yet there was nothing in regards to that.
Paying those guys all this big dough, the Bell telephone operator finds out about it. Big Wally, I'll tell you, thanks for coming. I can see why Wayne and the guys are all good, and Ken too. Okay, Blue, are you ready? Take us home. Let's go.
Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back next week with another interview from the vault of the Don Cherry Grapevine Show.